welcome back to another episode of the UK Glamping Podcast. As usual, we have a special guest with us this week. So let me introduce you to Ross Williamson, Director at Xoli Wastewater Solutions. Thanks very much for coming along, Ross.
No, pleasure. Looking forward to it.
So today we are going to be discussing the ever glamorous subject of sewage, wastewater, and all things related to it. It's not, I think it's fair to say it's not the sexiest element of a potential glamping project, but it is an incredibly important one. So can you tell our listeners, viewers, a little bit about you and your role with the company?
Yeah, so it's a family-run business. So myself and my dad, and my dad's partner Liz, all directors in the business. I've been involved in sort of the drainage industry really since leaving school. Various roles, which has led me to this point as a director within the Xoli business. I've worked with some of the UK's leading manufacturers in sud systems and wastewater and rainwater harvesting systems as well. So quite a bit of knowledge and a bit of background. So I've kind of seen it from all different angles, which I think kind of allows Xoli to offer a kind of unique perspective on sewage treatment systems and off-mains solutions than some of the other competitors out there.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, and obviously it's a really crucial part for all of our potential clients is to have a drainage plan when they approach the planning officers as part of their wider site plan. And there is, I think it's fair to say, a world of different types of solutions out there, from kind of septic tanks to water treatment plants, soakaways, all these different bits and pieces. Do you guys cover the whole gambit there, or do you specialise in any one particular area?
So we cover the whole thing. As I say, we've got between predominantly myself and Eric are three engineers that we've got as well. We've got a kind of vast array of knowledge on all things kind of sewage, all things nasty. But what we can do basically as a business, as an offering, is we can take people from basically kind of soft discussions, if you like, at the beginning to get an idea. Because if it's anything like what I was like before I got involved in the sewage industry, I would have no clue what's available, what a septic tank is versus a treatment plant. So we can help simplify that and give people a basic understanding as to what they're getting into, what they're getting involved in. We can continue that through work alongside people like yourselves in terms of designing the correct system based on each individual's set requirements, because they all vary. As I'm sure you guys will come up against, every glamping site will have its own little caveats, its own nuances that they kind of need to navigate. And it's the same for sewage treatment plants and septic tanks. People think that, it says a septic tank, I'll just put in any old septic tank and any old treatment plant. But in actual fact, some systems work better on certain sites than others. And that's where we kind of try and help people. We try and provide the best solution that suits their requirements, not what suits our agenda or our profit margins or anything like that. We can continue that right through to the installation of the system. And then once the system's actually installed, we've got a full service and maintenance programme that looks after systems once they're installed. So people have full peace of mind that they can come to almost a one-stop shop for their off-main system, and they can be in safe hands that it's not just going to be, we'll put a tank in,
Good luck.
Good luck, see you later, which is what some installers will do.
I think you've hit the nail right on the head there. And like many aspects of setting up a glamping site, generally speaking, clients will have no experience of so many different aspects of it. So having somebody there that can kind of provide them with that advice and that steer, just to lay out the different options, can go an awful long way. Like certainly from our side, when we have those initial conversations, a lot of the feedback is, oh, well, I'll just put a septic tank in. And as you rightly say, there's so many different types and suitabilities, but depending on what council area they're in, they might not even be allowed to put a septic tank in, and they might have to look at an alternative solution.
And in some cases, a septic tank is the best solution for them, and other cases it's not. So it's kind of important that people kind of get a look at it. And the other thing I think that people overlook, which is where we can maybe help advise, certainly in the early stages, is that, well, this is roughly how much that situation or that solution is going to cost. And it may in some cases be a deal breaker, because people if you don't know about septic tanks or treatment plants, what's the chance of you knowing what it's going to cost to install or ongoing maintenance? Or
100%. And I mean, it's something I've been dealing with for a few years now as part of our client journey, and I wouldn't have the first idea how much the different solutions would cost. So, if people are looking to kind of have a chat to you, get an idea of what is and isn't going to be possible, do you cover the whole of the UK? Is it just up here in Scotland? What parts of the world can you help our clients in?
certainly, our main kind of focus would be Scotland and the northern counties in England.
Mhm.
So we cover the whole of Scotland and all the Scottish Highlands and Islands. And then again, larger projects, obviously, it can be cost prohibitive for
Mhm.
Scottish company going all the way down south, but we have
Yeah.
been involved in projects in Nottingham and Southampton, and so we can cover nationally, providing the size of the project, but predominantly Scotland, Highland and Islands, and the kind of northern counties in England.
Okay, perfect. We'll put all of Ross's contact details in the episode description, by the way. So if you want to get in touch with the guys, just have a little look at the episode description, pick up the phone, send them an email. We'll put you guys in touch and we'll get the ball rolling. On that subject, just to loop back to something you mentioned a little bit earlier there with the various different options and things like that that are available to people. Obviously, you and I connected on LinkedIn. I saw one of your I saw one of your posts earlier today about a fairly shocking site that you guys had been out to tend to. That I think cowboy builders would probably be the most accurate way to describe it for the casual viewer. What Is that something you come across a lot? This kind of unregulated people that will just kind of slap a solution in and do half a job, or
Sadly, all too common, and I'm pretty sure that other companies like Xoli throughout the UK will encounter the same sort of issue. Sadly, there's no real direct legislation or anything to back the client up, basically within our industry, and all too often it can be a ground worker or a contractor that may say that they've got experience putting tanks in, and there may be individuals within that contracting business that have done it, but then
yeah,
they get labourers to put the tank in, etc., etc.,
one
and
of these jack of all trades kind of situations that maybe don't actually have the specialist knowledge they need.
we've seen everything from tanks, sewage treatment plants being installed back to front, and half popped out the ground, they're not installed with the correct backfill material, and then they go to get emptied, our high water table comes up and pushes the tanks out, damages them, and these things aren't cheap.
Mhm.
Um, when you're putting it in, you're as well doing your homework and speaking to reputable companies, do your homework properly, and maybe don't always go with the cheapest solution. And sadly, some of these installations aren't the cheapest option either. So it's not like it's just like, oh, I'll go with
No,
the
I think you're spot on, and it's a conversation we have about our services with our clients as well, because we're not the cheapest in the market for what we
yeah,
do either, and we're not trying to be.
no,
Don't get me wrong. There's a customer base for every level and every service, depending on what it is and what you need.
yeah.
But I think, like so many things, you reap what you sow, and if you pay for high quality work, you tend to get high quality work.
It's
Not
just
always, but fingers crossed,
it's
most of the time.
it's a real shame. We really don't like seeing that happen to hardworking people putting their
It's
hard
horrible,
work
isn't it?
in
Yeah.
and it never ever sits right with me when people go out and
Well, it's people's life savings that go into these things as well, quite often, and it's the culmination of a dream that, certainly from the glamping side, is quite often a part of a retirement plan as well, or a plan to become kind of self-sustaining and not stop working for other people. So if that blows up in your face, it can be pretty devastating for people.
the only reason for the sort of LinkedIn post and is to highlight it to people because I
Yeah,
think if there's no education out there, then people aren't going to know that these things can happen with treatment plants and systems. And unfortunately, I know it's not the nicest subject to talk about, but it is one of your key utilities for whether that be a domestic property or a glamping site or wedding venues, anything like that. It's a crucial utility that you need, and it's one of the ones that often gets overlooked or left to the tail end of the project. And it's like, well, just put that in and that'll do. Whereas in our focus, it should be get that right in it.
well, that's
Yeah,
exactly it, isn't it? I think it's one of those, it's kind of the unsung hero of the whole site, because if everything's functioning exactly as it should and all's going well, you don't give it a second thought. You go and flush the toilet, and you go, okay, and you don't think anything more of it. But as soon as that system breaks, you know all about it,
yes and no.
and it's going to become a big problem quite quickly. So yeah, I completely understand. So if we've got clients obviously that go through initial feasibility assessments, we have that discussion with people. So you go and get in touch with utility providers. Obviously, you're one of the companies that we recommend to come and approach around wastewater solutions. What's the best way for people to get the ball rolling with you? Is it to pick the phone up? Is it to interact with your website? What's the best way to get hold of someone and start that conversation with you?
We always feel that phone calls are a good starting point because you can really get a better understanding over the phone when you're speaking to someone as to what their full needs are and the site. And we can ask questions that maybe they haven't thought about or that they
Mhm.
should consider. So we always feel it's best to have a discussion, but certainly by all means, either phone call, email, or even reaching out on our social platforms like LinkedIn or our Facebook page. We can soon get back to you.
Perfect.
And even if it's an initial kind of soft discussion as to what solutions should I be looking at, what's available, we can help out with that thing. Kind of no obligation, no fee for sort of discussions and
Great.
hopefully
Yeah, that was going to be my next question because clearly a lot of people, when they first make these inquiries, don't necessarily have all their kind of financial solutions in place. They might be looking to go and secure loans or financing for part of their project. So I appreciate you probably need to know a lot about the site in order to give a finalized quote or anything like that. But is it the kind of thing that you can give rough ballpark figures from an initial call? I appreciate it will probably be a ballpark, but
it is very varied depending on site and where discharges are going, etc., etc. But in most instances, we can give a sort of loose ballpark figure to
a
say that
bracket, yeah.
you should maybe be hedging your money towards this number. It could come in cheaper, it could come in more expensive,
Yeah.
and
At
that
least
type
an
of
initial indication is, I think, really helpful for people. So that's fantastic.
and then probably from there, in order to firm up pricing, then it'd be things like percolation tests, which we can help out with, initial designs, and then at that point we would charge fees, and we do a thing here where we can charge a fee for helping with design and getting things over the line with environment agencies and SEPA. And then if we're awarded the works to do the installation, we'll either do a reduction or a removal of that initial cost outlay. So it helps people go, right, well, peace of mind that if we
I think whenever you can demonstrate the value of your work that way and just say, look, if it's successful, we'll give you the money back, then it's a pretty clear marker of the quality of your work, which is fantastic. So, presumably, at some stage, a site visit becomes the next logical step
yeah.
for you to go out and actually kind of assess the ground itself and the site. At what stage in the process does that tend to come in? Is that something that you charge for, or is that just part of the consultation process?
We would charge a kind of small site visitation fee just to sort of cover our time, really.
Yeah,
And again, if we're out there and the client then decides to award us the work to install it or to do a supervised installation whereby they've got their own ground worker there, ground worker maybe digs the hole and we'll supervise the actual installation of the tank. So we've got a pricing structure for that where it gives the client peace of mind and maybe the most cost effective solution sometimes where the client has got groundworks already being done on site.
yeah.
Um,
They've got someone local that saves the cost of you guys getting up there for sure.
and we're across it and we can supply the system and do the commissioning side of it and then they'll get peace of mind that the tank's installed and the controllers and things are going to work
Nice.
appropriately.
Okay.
So
So lots of different ways to skin a cat then, really, for customers
yeah,
wanting to know
yeah,
what's
yeah,
going
yeah. Can I help people out as best we can, find cost effective solutions for them. But really, probably after planning's approved, and they're maybe looking at building more on stage, or they've got that in place, then that's probably the situation where a site visit
Yeah.
would be beneficial. Yeah, at that point.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. There's no point kind of running before you can walk on that front. Okay, fantastic. One other subject I wanted to touch on, it's something we are getting asked about more and more lately is off-grid solutions. And what we're seeing is a real trend of certainly the younger generation looking very actively for kind of eco-friendly sites and green credentials when they look to go away. So as a result, we're getting asked more and more about what people can do sustainability wise and off grid wise. Where do you stand on that front? Is it kind of rainwater harvesting and solutions like that, or are there other facets to it?
There are other facets that a good one for saving a lot of your kind of precious water resource, albeit people think that, oh, we're Scotland, it rains all the time, or in the UK
Yeah,
it rains all the time, which it does,
yeah,
but sadly the access to that rainwater back into your system is fractional in comparison to what your perception would be.
yeah,
And
I
in
bet,
fact,
yeah,
Scotland still suffers droughts and hosepipe bans and warnings, and we tread very, very close to the line sometimes with our water resource, especially in remote areas. So rainwater harvesting can be a really, really good solution for, because, sorry to kind of die off on a tangent here, but it doesn't make sense to me that we flush perfectly fine drinking water down the toilet, 9 litres a flush or 6 litres a flush.
yeah,
Why? I don't know. So when you install something like rainwater harvesting, for example, you
mhm,
can use that for your toilet flushing.
right,
So depending on what you're using your rainwater harvesting system for, you can save up to 50% of your water consumption. And again, if you're on a kind of glamping site and glamping's getting classed as commercial, and you do have access to mains water, then your commercial water rates might be a lot higher than sort of domestic water rates, for example. So you can
yeah.
maybe offset quite a bit of your cost there as well, which
I
is a
had
good
no
way.
idea you could separate it off like that. That's a really clever solution. It's not something that ever even occurred to me that the water we put down our toilet is the same quality as the water that we're drinking.
It's the same stuff that comes out
Yeah,
your tap, but we just
yeah.
flush it
It
every day.
seems obvious now that you say it, but it's not something I've ever given any kind of conscious thought to. So, yeah, very clever way of tackling the problem.
The only kind of downside is sometimes depending on the style of glamping unit that's installed
Mhm.
can be the roof area.
Right.
Um, so if you've got enough pods, for example, and the roof shape and size, and if you put in clever guttering systems to capture as much of the rainfall from the roof area as you can, then it can be a good solution. If you're maybe only installing one or two glamping units, then the amount of water that you're able to collect might not be cost effective. So
Okay. So again, the importance of early consultation with you guys to give you an idea of what their plans are
absolutely,
is
yeah.
going to make it even more efficient for them down the line. Okay, brilliant. Well, look, I think we've covered quite a lot in a short space of time there. Again, I'm gonna encourage all of our listeners and viewers to give you a shout directly and just get straight in touch with you. I think that's the best way to get the ball rolling. If you we we tend to end each episode with asking our guests for a bit of a nugget of advice or a bit of a pearl of wisdom. So, have you got any kind of one piece of advice that you would offer out to clients that maybe a tip that you've seen from people before or something that you think people fail to?
I think just stress the importance of speaking to the right people about the right so speak to the right person in the correct industry, for example. For if you're looking at your clamping unit, speak to the correct people, they'll point you in the right directions, because I think it's kind of often overlooked, and people go, oh well, my friend told me to speak to this person, and word of mouth's a really, really good thing, but certainly do your due diligence and get all your costings right. And my biggest thing would be get the solution that fits your site, certainly for your sewage treatment plant, get the correct solution.
Mhm.
Because there's systems out there, and you've got seasonality with different kind of glamping venues throughout different parts of the UK. Some places are kind of quieter in the winter months, and the summer months. So there's systems that can cope with that better than others. So I would certainly just
Yeah.
speak to the right people.
Yeah.
My advice.
Perfect. And it's such a theme that runs through so many of the guests that we've had on the podcast is that there's just no such thing as a copy and paste approach with this industry. Just because it's worked for someone 2 miles down the road from you doesn't mean it's going to be the right solution for you. So lovely to hear that's echoed what a lot of other people have said. Guys, get in touch with Ross. Get in touch with me if you need me, and we can put you in touch if you want to do it that way. Ross, thank you very much for your time. We'll leave it there, and hopefully we will speak again soon.
Thank you very much.
Right, take care.